Episode 4 of the 40AFLOW podcast. I have my boy Ryan Cwick on. We talked about a lot of dope stuff. He just ran a marathon with limited training, a lot about mindset, and then his awesome Venmo challenge, which is impacting a lot of people. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Comment, subscribe, show some love, share it. Appreciate you, everybody. Live. Ryan Cwick in the building. Thanks for being here, bro. How you doing? How you feeling? More importantly,
I feel good.
Yeah,
I feel good. Yeah, rested up.
Right. So
yeah.
you just ran a marathon on Sunday, right?
Yeah, this past Sunday.
How was it, bro?
It was. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
Physically, mentally, all that stuff. It was challenging for sure. But at the end of it, you kind of go through it all and you're just like, what's it gonna feel like when I get to the end? And that's what I kept thinking about. And when I finally finished and I look back and reflect now, it's just like I'm just very happy that I did it.
Yeah. How long did it take you to finish?
It was about, well, the thing was, the plan was to run 26.2 miles, which was a marathon.
A normal marathon,
yeah.
Right?
But due to some miscalculations along the way, we ended up running 30 miles. And
wow.
Yeah, so it ended up being a little bit longer. And that all took about 6.5 hours.
Miscalculations by who?
I don't know if it was, so I mapped it out on Google Maps.
Yeah.
I wanted to end at the Santa Monica Pier.
Okay.
And I just backtracked 26.2 miles from there.
Oh, so this wasn't a marathon, like it was just you running.
No, yeah. I just decided I want to run one, and I picked a place to do it.
Okay.
I didn't want to do it up in Corona because it's too mountainous. Like I wasn't trying to run a marathon through hills.
Yeah.
So I was like, the beach is perfect because it's flat. I can just I can skate by or whatever. So I wanted to finish at the pier because that's from Forrest Gump. That's an iconic moment when he gets to the edge of the United States and turns around. So I've just backtracked 26.2 miles from there, and it brought me to like right around the Rancho Palos Verdes Point Vicente Lighthouse.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think it was around 27 miles.
Okay.
But along the way, we were shooting some video and stuff, so we would backtrack and like rerun certain parts of it.
Yeah.
And then I remember we got to like Redondo Beach Pier, and we decided to go like on the pier, like around, like taking like a little scenic route.
Yeah.
And by the time we got to this point that we were supposed to actually go back south, like Marina Del Rey, that track south to go back north would have been the full marathon.
Yeah.
And what happened was, by the time we got there, we were like a mile and a half, maybe a mile from finishing.
Yeah.
From being at 26.2, and we still had 4 miles to go, give or take.
So you knew this at the time?
I knew it at that time. So at 24 and change miles, I was like, I still have 4-ish miles to go. And that was the hardest stretch ever, going the opposite.
You weren't like, yo, I'm done at 26.2.
No, because I had to get to the pier. Like I was in the full Forrest Gump outfit. Like I had to finish at the pier.
So it was being filmed and documented. What was your reason for running the marathon?
So just I wanted to challenge myself physically, mentally. We started this marathon month. I go to Orange Theater Fitness, and they do a marathon month. So they just want you to run 26.2 miles in 4 weeks.
Okay.
And so I decided it would be a good challenge to, maybe other people wanted to tag along.
Yeah.
And my thought was to help, raise money for the Venmo challenge that I do.
Yeah, which we'll get into.
So I just like, I could probably do a double marathon in 4 weeks. I could probably run 52.4 miles. And so I just started asking people if they wanted to participate, and we got like 25, 30 people that joined in. They were running, walking, biking. They would set a goal that they wanted to hit.
Yeah.
And they say like by the second week of February, most people give up on their New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do fitness challenges or fitness goals for their New Year's resolution. So I was like, it's a great way to keep people going.
Maintain,
right?
yeah.
To keep people in that mindset.
Yeah.
So when I put it out there that I was going to do this marathon month, a buddy of mine, Joe, he said he said he would pledge $10 for every mile that I run dressed as Forrest Gump. So he didn't know that it was over 4 weeks. He thought it was in one day. And I was like, when I told him, he's like, well, you know, I'm not doing it I don't want you to dress up every day for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So he's like, whatever day you choose, you know, you run 5-6 miles, whatever you want, I'll do $10 as long as you dress up as Forrest Gump. And so just me in general, I was just like, well, then you're just gonna have to cough up a marathon tour because I'm just gonna go
You're
run
gonna
one.
go run one.
I just decided, yeah.
That's awesome. How long did it take you to recover after that?
So the first day was pretty rough. I got out of bed and I was like trying to go to the bathroom and I couldn't straighten my leg. Like it was just like not happening. I grabbed the dresser, I grabbed the wall, and I'm like shuffling. It took me about 4 minutes to get about 10 feet to get to the bathroom. But after I started moving, like my legs kind of woke up. And then the rest of the day was all right, but it was until probably Tuesday when I was like, okay, I can walk and do stuff without being like in pain.
Did you like go in the ocean after, take a bath, or like stretch, anything like that?
No, that was the rough part, was because when we finished, I still had to drive. I mean, Santa Monica to Corona is about an hour, give or take, without traffic.
Yeah, probably more.
And so it wasn't like I could, you know, put my feet up and like, you know, rest and
you drove
elevation.
back home.
And yeah, I had to drive back after. So
I would have been cramping the whole time.
But luckily, I had a good buddy of mine, Ryan. He came up from San Diego to watch me finish.
Okay.
So he drove me. We went to get Chipotle after, and I just feasted because I needed the energy.
Yeah.
It was like on my Strava app. It was like almost 5,000 calories that I burned.
Did you eat or drink or electrolytes or anything during?
Yeah. Luckily, our guy, the videographer, was. He had his car and his fiance was with him, so we had put our food and our drinks and stuff in there. So we only stopped about 4 times throughout the whole thing just to like refuel and stuff. Okay.
How long were the stops for?
Probably like maybe 5-6 minutes, because I was told like you don't want to stop for a long time. Like, you sit down, you're probably not getting back up.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure we were kind of still moving, like walking around, and it was quick, you know. I mean, it wasn't long stops.
You got me inspired, man. Like after I saw that, I was really intrigued. Like, I wonder, because you did it on limited training, right? So
yeah, I pretty much decided like 4 weeks prior that I was going to do it.
4 weeks. So what kind of training did you do to prepare for it?
I had one of my cousins. He lives over in England. He's a big time runner.
Yeah.
You know, he's done a bunch of marathons. He did the London Marathon last year.
Okay.
He ran a marathon in his backyard, like during quarantine. Like they were super locked down over there. So he has like this little garden, and he literally ran like, I don't know how many laps, like 1,200 laps.
Dude,
like,
I would go absolutely insane.
And
That's
he did
nuts.
a whole marathon. It's just in his backyard. It's crazy.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
So I reached out and I was like, you know, like, can you help me somewhat train? And he's like, sure, but most people take like 6 months to prepare for a marathon, and I was doing 4 weeks. So it was pretty much like do about 5 miles a day, trying to get your body acclimated to running. Yeah. And then every Monday, do a little bit longer. You know, do 10 miles, then do 12 miles, then do 15 miles. You know, run, walk kind of a thing. Like I wasn't planning on doing it all straight. I'm not here to set record times. It's just like, I just want to finish. Yeah. Get me to the finish line. Yeah. That's what I was concerned with.
Yeah, it was to raise the money, right?
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. So I put on my stories a few days ago. I don't know if you saw, but I put on my stories. Do you think like I asked the people if they think themselves could run a marathon with no training, and then I asked if they think I could, and most people said no about themselves running one, and then I mean, I got a little bit of love on mine just because I'm asking about me, but my whole thing was no stopping. Like I've made a bet with a few people now about not stopping, zero training. So I want to have someone like sign me up for one. Yeah. And then the day before they're gonna be like, "Yo, your marathon's tomorrow," and I want to see if I could do it.
Yeah, it's definitely it depends on your body, you know. Like, right. I would say your running form is important. Yeah. Right. Like my knees, probably about halfway in, they started getting some pounding on them, and that was the biggest thing. It was like anytime I stopped and had to start walking, I had to start again. Yeah. I had to walk like 10, 20 steps and then slowly start to get a little like shuffle into like a jog.
Wow.
Because it was just so painful. Like I had to like ease my way into it, like on an incline. And then once I got into a jog, it was like my legs were firing, so it was almost like numbing.
Yeah.
So I could, withstand the pain, and then it was fine.
Yeah.
So like the last 4.5 miles, I didn't stop once, because if I did, it would have been tough to start back up again.
Yeah. Wow.
So I think you could do it. Because it's pretty much all mental.
I ran cross country and track in middle school for a couple years.
Okay.
And I mean, I think I could.
You got some level of distance there, yeah.
Yeah,
but I was not a runner at all. Like I don't enjoy.
So like the 4 weeks before you started training, were you doing anything for like your cardio?
I mean just Orange Theory.
Okay.
I mean you run a little bit there.
Okay.
There's cardio involved.
Is it lifting though too?
Yeah. There's weights. There's the rower, like stuff like that. So my cardio, I think that helped me because my cardiovascular was already pretty strong.
Yeah.
But the longest I had probably ran since before that was maybe like 6 miles. Like I don't.
That's really cool, man.
Not a runner, yeah.
That's cool. So you do a Venmo challenge you mentioned. Kind of get into that, what that is, because I'm not even fully aware, but I've seen it on your Instagram, and it's probably like the main reason I had you on here, because I think it's really, really cool what you're doing, and I want to kind of talk about that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah. So this was back in September of 2020, during the pandemic. I saw this lady, Lexi Burke. She was on her TikTok doing these Venmo challenges. All of her followers would just Venmo her 50 cents, $1, whatever they could. And she lived in Nashville. She would go around to these restaurants where, a lot of the servers got laid off for a good amount of time. Yeah. And so she would go and she would surprise them with, $500 or $1,000 as a tip, like a surprise tip. Yeah. And I was like, that's amazing. Like these people, their reactions, like, not expecting it. And I saw that, and I was just like, I was inspired right there. I was like, that's something that I could do. I love surprises. Everyone that knows me knows I love surprising people. Okay. And so the thought of me going around and helping people, servers or whatever, was just like, I can do that. Yeah. It was just a matter of filming, right? Because her husband was filming for her, whereas it was kind of like just me. So I was like setting up different ways to do it. Yeah. So the first 2 that I did was pretty much like there really wasn't much feedback. Like I did it strictly on TikTok at first, just I wasn't really sure. And I think the first round it was like $53 that I raised, and like 40 of that was mine. Just to try to gain some traction.
Slow start, but get some momentum.
And then it was until the 3rd one that I did. A friend of mine, she told me to go and do a hairdresser, because I was like, they've been closed down. Yeah. So I went to this Great Clips by me. Obviously, I don't have hair, so it was like kind of like a joke that I did. I went in there with a hat on. Yeah. And that whole thing, I was gonna just get like a beard trim. And then tip her afterwards. So I got in, I sat down, and I was like, I'd just like to get a beard trim, like with a mask on. She's like, we can't do that. Yeah. Like the governor said, only haircuts. We can't do shampoos. We can't wash. We can't, anything with the beards. It's only haircuts. And so I'm sitting there like, okay, well, this is great. Yeah. What do I do now? So I was like, well, I'll just tip her anyways, you know. And it was like $105, it wasn't like an insane amount of money. And I'll never forget the look in her eyes. She just started to kind of like tear up. Yeah. And she started to tell me about her nephew, literally on Christmas Day, diagnosed with leukemia, 5 years old. Man. And I could just see it, like the pain, and she had just moved out here from Georgia to help the family, with some money and like the, financial issues. Yeah. And so when I saw that, it just kind of triggered in my head that I can do more. Yeah. So I started to do research ahead of time for people going through these tough times, right? Yeah. Because I know servers and hair, like they are going through tough times, but when you do it at random, you don't really know, are they really struggling, but
could they use this money?
It was like, there's probably other people out there that are really hurting, and I wanted to make an impact for them. So when I shared that video, I put it on like my Instagram and Facebook, and it just kind of like went crazy.
Yeah.
The next round was like $850.
That's awesome.
It was never about how much I raised. You know, I never focused, was like, we need to hit 1,000 this week. It was just like whatever you can, 50 cents, $1.
Yeah.
Because it's really, I started to see it was about the hope that we were giving people, right? It was some random person coming and giving you some hope, whether it was $20 or $100 or $1,000.
No, yeah.
Giving someone who's going through a tough time just that helping hand, like, I got your back. You know, you don't know me, but I'm here for you.
Yeah.
That kind of changed everything.
There's something special about helping someone, like, just out of kindness or love, like, where you can, both sides can feel it, where it keeps faith in humanity, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's funny. Denzel Washington has a famous saying that he does, where it's like the most selfish thing you can do is give to someone.
Right.
And he's like, it's selfish because that feeling that you get, there's nothing better, you know? So you're actually like being selfish by helping someone because of that feeling that you get. And that just sat with me. It's like, it's so true. Like, you know?
Yeah, we're chasing rushes on social media and the dopamine and all that stuff about getting likes and everything, but that's probably the best feeling out of all that stuff. The money, the likes, the clout, whatever it is. It's crazy.
Yeah, no better feeling.
So how are you finding the people that you help now? Like how are you going about that?
So after that, I started calling different organizations. There was a few, I probably called about 50 before I found one that was like, you know, I was telling them what I was doing. Like I only had about 3 videos to prove like I wasn't just some stranger like looking to help someone. And I found an organization that works with kids that are, you know, have like major illnesses like cancer and things like that. And they help their families pay for, you know, medical stuff or for rent or food, like different things that they need help with. And so I started finding those families, and I would go and surprise. Like one lady, she worked at Subway, you know, so I went into Subway at night, like right before they closed, and she was not happy because they were closing, and I walked in, like, you know, that last customer you don't want to be. But then when I went through it all, and it was like $850, and she was just like no way, like that's fake. You know, like that's not real. You know. So I basically started to just reach out to different people if they know, you know, now people, they contact me like, hey, my friend, you know, she's really trying to do this surgery because she has this illness or whatever, and she just, you know, she has to GoFundMe or whatever. And for me, it was just like knowing that this person really could use this boost, whether it was about the money or not, but just the fact that someone out there is doing something for them that no one asked them to do, or they're not getting paid to do it. You know, like every single dollar that comes in goes out. Like this isn't anything that I take a portion of or anything like that. I think that hope really gives somebody that boost that can get them through something that
and
that
then
hard
they
time
can
they're
give
going.
that boost to someone else. It's
And
impactful.
That's the key. That's kind of like where my mindset has shifted with all this stuff is inspiring others.
Did you always know that you wanted to be like a helper or giver, like not in that way, but in a way, or did something click with you? Or
I would say yes and no. Growing up, my grandfather, he was one of the nicest humans that I've ever met, and he went through World War II, some pretty scarring stuff. And I think that's what kind of shifted his mindset of like, nothing was as bad as that. So what am I here to complain about? So I never, in the 12 years that I had known him, never saw him get upset, never saw him get angry. Like everything was just great, happy. Like, and so my mom had done some nonprofit stuff in the past, and I think I had been with her through some volunteer stuff, and a part of me just always enjoyed seeing other people smile, right? So it was something that I did, but I mean, there's times in my life that it was like, you know, what's in it for me? You know, it's like, what can I do to make money, or like, how can I, is some form of greed, right? Because we all have that in us eventually. And it wasn't until, kind of going through the pandemic and seeing so many people struggle, getting away from that negativity in the media. I started to unfollow a lot of pages and start following like good news movement, like different things that were great. And that kind of just propelled me to be a little bit more proactive in that.
I think I think it woke like a lot of people up in that sense, to where like, I don't need to be consuming this all the time when I could consume, like it's different what you're consuming.
You get to choose,
and it changes your life.
And you look at the mainstream media, it's all the same stuff. Any channel you watch, like, we don't have to get into politics, but it's just, for me, I just noticed that it was starting to become a thing where there's an agenda.
It was fear porn.
There's an agenda to it. So it's like, if I'm aware of it, why would I continue to do it? So I mean, I haven't had cable TV for like 7 years, just because I'm not a big fan of advertisements and stuff. So I just kind of, I have my Netflix or whatever, but I got away from it. And then when I hear, hey, did you hear about this thing? It's terrible. I'm like, no, I didn't. And they're like,
my life's better because of it.
I honestly, I feel more positive because I'm not involved in that every day. I don't wake up and look at what's wrong with the world today. It's like, oh, look at what someone did for someone. That's great. What can I do now? That's the mindset.
That's really cool.
Stay with.
That's really cool. Do you have a favorite family or person that you've helped? Like the best story, maybe, or
favorite family?
Like one that just really stuck with you or stood out to you?
I mean, they're all unique in their own ways, like how I help them in their different situations. So I can't say I have a favorite. One that really hit me close to home was it was the Halloween one that I did. It was on Halloween night. I was supposed to go and surprise this little boy with a bowl of candy, right? Halloween, I don't know if he was going out or not, because I mean, during COVID, like with illnesses, I don't know if they were going to go trick-or-treating. And I was planning to go to his house, and then I come to find out that he wasn't at his house. He was in the hospital. He had some form of a setback or something, and he was going in for surgery soon.
Wow.
And I remember dressing up, like I wanted to be like I was trick-or-treating and like going to give candy.
Yeah. And
then I was going to be like, oh, also, here's $1,000.
Yeah.
And I got to the hospital, and they're like, you can't see anyone, you can't do anything. Like, you need to have a media pass to be on site with your camera. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, I just want to help someone.
Right.
Like, it's so difficult to actually, like, when it comes down to that stuff. So luckily, the lady at the front desk, she's like, you just can't be on premises. So we went out to the sidewalk, went out to the street. And I was like, can you just see if the mom will come down? And I can do that. And she called up, and the mom came down. Had a random lady in the lobby waiting that helped me film it,
Wow.
So it was really cool for her to come to me afterwards and tell me what an amazing experience it was. But when I handed her the money, just her reaction just took me for a loop. Like, she was speechless. She was trying to say something.
She couldn't talk.
And she couldn't.
Yeah.
And she was just like, the gratitude that was beaming off of her, it could have reached, Mars. Like, it was intense.
Yeah.
And later that night, she sent a picture of little Uziel with the money and the candy and the look on his face. Cause as a young kid, you probably want to go trick-or-treating with your friends, and now you're in the hospital, you can't do anything. But to see his smile and just that, maybe I lifted his spirits a little bit.
That's really cool.
And that was just one of the moments that always sticks with me, seeing that.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So would you say your life has gotten better since starting this?
Oh, a million times better.
Yeah?
Yeah, a million times better. Like, maybe unintentionally, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But just doing something for others is always going to bring you to a better place.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
some good advice right there. People got to start helping people, man.
Yeah, that's where I want to continue to take this.
So what's your goal with this? Where do you want to go? What do you see in the future with it?
So I am in the process of starting a nonprofit. I don't have a name for the organization yet, so if you come up with something, like, let me know.
Yeah.
But essentially, I want it to be similar to what I've been doing, like Venmo challenge-esque.
Yeah.
Where we're helping people going through tough times, right? This is money that people are donating to help someone that they don't even know, right? This is just strangers coming together, and so it kind of shifted me to start thinking a little outside of the box, because many nonprofits are very like cause focused, right? Who are we helping? Like, is it cancer? Is it hunger? Is it clean water? Like, amazing causes, right? But I think a lot of the times we focus on what that cause is, and then many people are like, well, does it really speak to me, or is it something that I want to be a part of? I mean, obviously everyone wants to help, but we can't give our whole paycheck away. Like, we can't donate everything,
right? And
it really shifted me, because when I do these Venmo challenges, I record them so that everyone that's donated can see where their money goes, right? There's transparency. Like, this dollar that you've donated has been handed to, and you see it. Yeah. So it's not so much like, where is it going? Like 20% administration fees, like all this stuff. So there are nonprofits out there that are all volunteer based, so they don't take any salary, they don't take any money from the donations. Yeah. And that's what I want to keep it that way. Yeah. But also the fact of giving the donor the experience. Yeah. So it's not so much focused on the recipient, but about the donor. So by having that video, the donor now, when we watch those tear jerking videos of, sometimes I'll watch like soldiers coming home, right? That stuff gets me going. Yeah. Like, if I'm ever in a bad mood, I throw that on, immediately not upsetting. Right. So there's something about watching videos like that that move us to do something, going, right? So if my video of me giving, right, and you were a part of that, now you made that person
you feel
smile.
That impact as well.
You made that impact. You made that person smile. Now you feel what I feel, right? And you don't have to be there with me. You don't have to be doing all the work. Like, I'll do that for you. Yeah. But I'm hoping that inspires you to do something similar in your day-to-day life. Whether you hold the door open for someone, or you just give someone a compliment out of the blue, like, I really like that dress you're wearing. Yeah. Something like that, to where it's gonna make someone else's day, and there's a domino effect there, and that's really the only way that we can make change in the world is one person at a time. Yeah. And so part of the nonprofit that I'd like to do is, we're gonna focus on helping people, but if we can focus on the giving aspect of it, having more people give. If we're giving, there's gonna always be a recipient, right? There's always someone receiving something. So if we can focus on the giving, then that's going to explode more than like, okay, well, you're helping this person, but like, I've already contributed to cancer, so I'm not going to donate or anything like that. It's not, I don't want it really to be about the result, like the recipient. I want this to be more of like a movement of how can we provide hope to this world? Because with all the negativity and all the stuff that's been going on, it's like, we need more of just kindness,
more light,
just
more
kindness
love,
and hope. So
like you have super good energy, like you're fun to be around. Have you always been like that, or did you have to was there a point in your life? You said we had a lot of similarities, so I don't know if you listened to my story a little bit, but like going through tougher times and then helping create a better version of yourself. Yeah. Did you have to go through something similar, or?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was like a specific thing that brought me to like a low point. But there was, I've always liked to have fun, right? But we all have limiting beliefs, right? We all have things that hold us back from being ourselves, from doing the things that we like to do. And a lot of that is fear of judgment, right? Fear of what other people are going to think of us. And so I grew up a really shy kid. Like I didn't really I wasn't outgoing at all. I kind of kept to myself. And then when I think it was 12, I was going into I think it was like my last semester of 8th grade. I went back in Florida, this was South Florida Fair, and there was a hypnotist show going on. And for some strange reason, that day, I decided I was going to go and get hypnotized. And he was calling people out of the audience to come up, and I went up there without even being called on, which is something that is like, I would never have done. I don't know why I did it. And I went up on stage, and I got hypnotized, and it kind of, because when you're hypnotized, you're aware, like you know of everything that's going on, but you're in a state of calmness to where you just kind of go with it, right? And it was almost like this separate person, because whatever I was doing, it wasn't me doing it, right? He was telling me what to do. So it was always like, I could always brush it off like, oh, if I made a fool of myself, it wasn't really me. It was just that.
Yeah, I was hypnotized.
And I made a complete fool of myself, like insane. And everyone like cheered.
What do you have you doing?
And, oh my gosh. So there was one point where he told me every time he touched his forehead, I would see a rat run across the stage. And there was nothing in the world more that I feared than rats. And so like as soon as he would do it, I would see it, and I would like jump, out of my chair, like knocking things over to where he like interrupted his whole thing, because I was like, are you all right, dude? And then afterwards, there was like, he said we were in this $1 million booty shaking contest, and man, there's a video of it I have on DVD.
Oh man, that's a
you have to be a select few to be able to see that, but I just made a complete fool of myself. And after the fact, it was just like, there was no judgment. Like all these people from this, it was probably 1,000 or so people in the crowd coming up to me, like saying how funny I was, how awesome I did. And at that point, it was just kind of was like a turning point. I kind of started coming out of my shell, being a little bit more outgoing and just not as afraid to be judged.
Yeah.
But as life goes on, things happen, and you start to fall back into that pattern. And it was 2019, like right before the pandemic. It was November. A really good friend of mine brought me to Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within event. Life-changing experience.
Really?
Like, completely. It's like a 4-day event, and you get immersed in it. It's like 12 hours of all these different things of him teaching you about your mindset and about your state and how you can change it, and it's up to you you have the power to do it. And pretty much after that moment, it was just kind of like, I didn't want to continue just doing stuff to do it. It was like, what do I love to do? What is passionate for me? And that kind of like skyrocketed me into just putting myself out there, like stopping thinking like, well, are people gonna like this, or what's gonna be the outcome of if I do this? It's like, what do I want to do? And I'm gonna go and do that, and then see what happens from there.
You hit on limiting beliefs. What are some limiting beliefs that you may have had and have changed, where you've seen like evidence of that was the thing that was
limiting belief? Was like, what happens if one thing that always held me back was, what happens if I do all this and then it doesn't work, right? And then I wasted all that time, so then I would end up not doing anything because I would waste time.
Afraid of failure.
And, failure and rejection. Top limiting beliefs of all time, because we're afraid of putting ourselves out there and being rejected, because that's the worst feeling that there is. But when you start to figure out that life is about failure, like you have to have failure in order to get better. You get tied up in being a perfectionist that you end up crippling yourself and not doing anything, not taking any action, because you don't know what's going to work. And the key is you actually have to do stuff to find what works.
It's wild how like the failure or the rejection, you always come out better. So we're terrified of it, but in the end, it's actually
it's the
better.
best thing that you can do. It's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, that's nuts. Put your socials out there, your social media. Where could people find you? Where can they help you
Yeah, it's just my name, Ryan Cwick, RyanCwick.
Instagram, what else are you on?
Instagram, Facebook,
TikTok.
Pretty much. TikTok, like a little, just because it's just a platform to really get more attention, but I don't really pay much attention to it.
So you run the challenges through there?
Yeah, I post pretty much everything's Instagram for now.
Okay.
I would like to get on YouTube just because there's a way for me to make money to help this stuff, because again, this is all my free time.
Yeah.
Right? I work and then I do this, and it's not an encumbrance on me. Like I have the flexibility with my job to where I can do things at different times of the day. But I would like to get up to a point where I can do this full time. Like I would love to wake up every day and just put all my energy into that. People. And I want to stick true to not taking any of that donation money.
Yeah.
Right? I want to stick true to that. So, finding other sources of income like YouTube, ad money, stuff like that will help to help fund that, and hopefully get to a point where I can.
Do you feel as if you have a purpose to be doing something like this?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone my whole life pretty much like doing new things. Like I first started out as an engineer. Like I went to school for engineering. I graduated with that, did that for about 4 or 5 years. And then I just felt a calling of something else. I didn't know what it was, right? And I decided to move out to California because my buddy Tony was just like, you got to come out here. You've been bugging me for years. Yeah. And it was just like the right time that I decided to just do it. Like I'll find another job when I come out here, like something engineering based. And when I didn't, it was like I was doing these odd jobs, like just part-time jobs to make some money to survive. And then, by putting myself out there, other opportunities came up, and I started going down different routes. And I think that's what it's all about. It's like, while my purpose right now is this, I feel like doing this is going to open up other doors to something that I can't even think of right now. What the opportunity is. Yeah. But as long as I continue to move forward, like one step at a time in the right direction, in the direction that I truly feel passionate about, then how can I go wrong?
I feel similar in that way, because people will ask me like, what do you want to do in 10 years, 50, like all that. And I always can't give them an answer, but I know it's going to be something good or something that I'm able to help people, or because that's just what I see. Yeah, that's what I feel. Yeah.
And you have to have, whether you end up reaching, like in 5 years, I want to be CEO. Okay, that's a good goal. You have to have some direction, but you have to have the ability to be flexible, to adapt to different paths that come up,
in order to do
and you're not going to be able to do that if you kind of are stuck in the same thing, maintain everything that you do every single day. That monotonous cycle, it's hard to get out of that.
Yeah. So last question, do you think I'll be able to run the marathon without stopping, no training, zero training?
I think you can do it.
Okay.
I think you can do it. But it's just a matter of, what's your why? Why do you want to do it?
To prove about like limiting beliefs, where a guy, because I would never want to go run a marathon until I brought it up. And then I had a few people who were like, no, you couldn't do that. That's impossible. And I'm like, I disagree. So I want to show people that it's not. Yeah. It's just a belief, right? Yeah. If I believe I could not run a marathon or finish it without stopping, then I couldn't. But let's see what happens when I believe I can.
And that's the big thing is, you're doing it in hopes of inspiring someone, right? That's your why. Yeah. If you have a why that's strong enough, you can do anything, right? Yeah. It's not about whether you can physically do it, because pretty much the human body is pretty incredible. Yeah. So it is a lot about mindset. Yeah. And if you're telling yourself like, why am I even doing this? You chances are you could give up. But if you're like, I'm doing this no matter what because of this, because of that, then you have that to fall back on when you get to mile 19, where I was just like, dude, what is going on? Why did you sign up for this? Yeah. And then you think back of all the people that I've helped and all the people that I'm going to help. And it's like, that just gives you that little bit of distraction from the pain. And you take that next step. And then next thing you know, it's a couple miles down the road. And you might get into that same headspace again and just keep moving forward. That's really what it's all about.
Yeah, this was awesome, man. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I hope to have you back on relatively soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Love it.
All right, y'all. Peace out.